Chapter 8. Heroin Heroines. After the death of Wally Reed, Hollywood users did not break their habits, they learned discretion. One of the town's leading dealers was a quiet, gentlemanly actor on the Senate lot known as the Count. It was he who offered to fix up Wally Reed's hangover during the filming of Forever, who first put Mabel Normand, Juanita Hansen, Barbara Lamar, and Alma Rubens on the junk. The girl who is too beautiful, Barbara Lamar, was Hollywood's most glamorous if jaded junkie. She dabbled in every known variety of dope until her fatal OD at 26 in 1926. Barbara kept her cocaine in a golden casket on the grand piano. Her opium was the finest grade Benares blend. Barbara, the Southern belle brought into films by Douglas Fairbanks in The Three Musketeers, seemed to know she was not long for this life. Determined to make the most of it, she boasted of never wasting any more than 2 hours on sleep a night. She had better things to do. She did indeed have lovers by the dozens, like roses, she said, as well as 6 husbands during her brief career as a star. The film titles of Too Beautiful, Barbara read like a litany. Souls for Sale, Strangers of the Night, The White Moth. Her last incarnation as a femme fatale was in The Heart of a Siren. Her own heart was stopped soon after by a suicidal OD. The studio blamed her death on too rigorous dieting. After Barbara Lamar, the sensitive dramatic actress Alma Rubens lost her secure foothold on the ladder of fame to plunge into the nightland of narcotics. The raven-haired star of The Half-Breed, The Firefly of Tough Luck, The Price She Paid, and Showboat became a real-life heroine with most of her energies and a great part of her fortune devoted to securing drugs. Alma's addiction did not become public knowledge until a bizarre incident occurred the afternoon of January 26, 1929, on Hollywood Boulevard. She was seen running down the street pursued by 2 men. I'm being kidnapped, she screamed, tearing off her hat and gloves as she sprinted and throwing them into the gutter with her purse. She ran up to a gas station and sought refuge among the pumps. The 2 men caught up with her. Alma then struck savagely with a knife she had concealed in her dress, stabbing the younger of the 2 men in the shoulder. The gas station attendant managed to grab the knife while the older man locked her arms behind her. Alma, sobbing, was led off to an ambulance parked in front of her house on Wilton Place. When the story appeared in the papers, it became known that Alma Rubens had stabbed the ambulance attendant and that the older man was her physician, Dr. E.W. Meyer. Alma had panicked when they arrived at her house to put her in a private sanitarium. After a few weeks of treatment at the Alhambra Clinic, she was allowed to return home with a nurse to look after her. In April 1929, she lashed out at the nurse with a knife and was subdued after a tussle. Alma was taken to the psycho ward of LA General Hospital, then transferred to the California State Hospital for the Insane at Patton for a 6-month cure. When she left the hospital, Alma declared, I am feeling wonderful again after my rest. I am going to New York and try to pick up my career again, first on stage, then I hope to return to Hollywood. Alma's hopes for a Broadway comeback did not work out, and while in New York, she filed divorce proceedings against her 3rd husband, leading man Ricardo Cortez. Alma kept her word and did return to Hollywood in 1931, but soon after her arrival felt a prompting to visit Agua Caliente across the Mexican border, driving down in the company of Ruth Palmer, a young actress she had brought from New York. On her return trip to Hollywood, they stopped off at the U.S. Grant Hotel in San Diego, where Alma was arrested on January 6, 1931, charged with possession of 40 cubes of morphine. The tip-off had come from Ruth Palmer, alarmed at Alma's outbursts of violence. The police found the drug cubes sewn into the seams of one of Alma's dresses when they searched the hotel room. When the cops entered, Alma screamed, I've been robbed of $9,000 in jewels and this is a frame-up. I came back to California to make a comeback. Then this has to happen to me. After being charged, Alma was diagnosed as seriously ill. She was allowed to return home with her mother under constant medical care. Realizing she was dying, Alma called the Los Angeles Examiner for a last interview. I have been miserable for so long. I only went to professional men to seek relief from my pain. Each time they said, take this for the pain and you will be able to go on. When they first started giving me this horrible poison, I did not know what it was. I went from one to the other. One even laughed when I told him I craved the drug and said, don't be afraid, you will not need any more after you are well. But they went on and on giving me this thing. As long as my money held out, I could get drugs. I was afraid to tell my mother, my best friends. My only desire has been to get drugs and take them in secrecy. If only I could go to my knees before the police or before a judge and beg them to make stiffer laws so that men will refuse to take dirty dollars from murderers who sell this poison and who escape punishment by buying their way out. On January 22nd, 1931, Alma died, aged 33. Another heroine was the delicate blonde Juanita Hansen, the original Mac Sennett girl, who was introduced to drugs on the Keystone lot. The Count had approached Juanita early one Monday morning when she was suffering the effects of a boozed-up weekend. He used his usual opener. "Hangover, honey? I'll fix it for you." The first taste was free. The die was cast. Soon, Juanita was buying at $75 an ounce. Years later, she recalled meeting her connection in downtown LA at 4th and Spring Street. A peddler, the same man who had met me that fateful day at the same spot, had sold me my first bundle of heroin. I had been his best customer since. The man was really a fairly well-known actor, though not a star. I took a dose right there. Doctors, the hospital, and the dangers I was running from meant nothing to me. All I craved was heroin. I bought a good supply. And so the Count led another star down Smack Alley. While Barbara Lamar and Alma Rubens somehow escaped the Doom Book blacklist following the death of Wally Reed, Juanita Hansen was not so fortunate. Her name was found in a letter of an Oakland doctor with whom she had sought treatment, and soon after Reed's death, she was arrested and held in jail for 72 hours to determine if she was on the stuff. At that time, she was not, but the headlines finished her career. Juanita, the daredevil serial queen and star of The Lost City, hit the oblivion trail. Her comeback was not in the movies, but as founder of the Juanita Hansen Foundation, whose avowed aim was to urge doctors to wage war against addiction as they now crusade against syphilis.